We should be anyway.
Sweet.
Yep. We should be on both Facebook and YouTube right now. Both is set. New Smeared Times, major upheaval. How we doing?
What's going on, folks?
Oh, there he is. He made it. Okay. There he is. He made it.
There he goes. Guys, we just went live. As you know, it's Tuesday night with the News Group. I'm here with Eyes on the State. And we're also here tonight with James McLynas for Pinellas County Sheriff. And, we wanted to get him out on here tonight and help ramp up his campaign. So we're going to do some talking with him. He's going to go over his platform, we hope, and answer questions from anybody in the audience. And, this is how change begins, by backing someone who you think is going to make a difference out there. And we at Bang fully support James McLynas for Pinellas County Sheriff.
Thank you for that.
Yes.
And I think we're still getting people in, so I don't know if we want to just give them a couple of minutes to get some more people in, or if we just want to go right into it. That's up to you, James. Maybe if we wait a couple minutes, you won't have to repeat your position more than once.
Oh, well, we could just sit here and chat and have a good time anyway, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. That's what we normally do.
Awesome. Yeah, I've been following some of your exploits all across Alabama. They've been pretty awesome.
Yeah, I just uploaded another one right before we got on here, and I think that's the best one out of the whole series. We ended up getting the sheriff, the state police, the county police, the local police. We got them all involved in this last stop, and none of them knew the law, from the sheriff all the way down to the regular deputies. And
why does that not surprise me one single bit?
Yeah, it's crazy. I even said it one time. I was like, "That's the sheriff? Wow!" And they were like, But what's even funnier was the cops were like, "He's a pretty impressive man, isn't he?" And I'm thinking, no, absolutely not.
No, yeah. If you don't know your job, you're not very impressive at all.
No, not at all. This guy was definitely unimpressive. But people will see it and they'll get to make up their own minds on that. But from my experience, I mean, the guy rolls up and he detains us and he says, "Well, we're doing an investigation." And I said, "Well, you can't investigate for no crime. You can't just investigate because, hey, the sky's blue today. I'm going to stop people and investigate them." But
they've always done that. They've always gotten away with that. They've learned that they could just bully people with their badges, and that's what policing has become.
Absolutely. Yeah, and they show it on a couple of number of levels, and it just baffles me, and with this stuff too, with recruiting in a public place, they find any kind of excuse they can to stop you from doing that. They'll say, well, this time it was because of the unrest around the country, and they had received some threats of people burning their buildings, and and it was crazy.
Yeah, I love that excuse. Well, the times we are in these days.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
So what? Have you been attacked? Has there been any terrorist threats in Dothan, Alabama? I think the terrorists are going to skip right over Dothan. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. There should be a larger fish to fry.
Exactly.
Unless they're looking for Barry Seal.
Yeah, but why was that where Barry Seal was found?
No, he was in Arkansas, I think.
Okay.
Where he was, but it's the same kind of concept. That little bitty, teeny tiny town.
Yeah.
Uh,
You know what's funny about this, and I didn't realize this until that day, was the Dothan PD has 250 officers, but the county that it's in, Houston County, only has 100 deputy sheriffs. So the town has got twice as many officers as the whole county does.
that's incredible.
It is. And when you see this video, you'll see why they have so many officers, because they're literally standing around. And I keep asking them, I'm like, are all you guys investigating? There's 12 people here. You know what I mean? There's 2 guys with a camera. There's 12 guys here investigating, including the sheriff himself. I'm like,
Well, these are all classic examples of American over-policing. You know, I was just watching a videotape of Bill Clinton saying, I vow to put 100,000 new officers on the streets in my administration. We don't need the 100,000. How about we take away 500,000? I think we'll all be safer.
yeah, absolutely. Call them when you need them.
Interesting note, I was in part of the preparation for me becoming sheriff, I actually went and did a very exhaustive study on the history of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And I found some incredible things. It's actually all on my website. You can go look at it under the sheriff, the sordid history of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And not only were they directly involved in lynchings and enforcing all the racist policies in Pinellas County, but there was some really interesting facts in there, and I had no idea. One of them being in 1960 here in Pinellas County, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department only had 10 deputies for the entire county. At the time, we had about 650,000 residents. Now we have still under 1 million residents. It's like 930,000 or something and change. But now the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department has 2,800 members, and it is one of the largest employers in the county. What the hell?
That's crazy.
It is crazy.
That's because, like you said, and you know, policing now is for profit. You know, I was with a gentleman, and we were at a private prison, and he was asking me about him because he didn't know about him. And I said, man, private prisons are taking off. And, you know, I said, and what they're doing is they're entering in the contracts with states for the states to provide a certain amount of inmates to them, you know, to keep their full to capacity. And I said, and in some cases where the states have not been able to keep enough people incarcerated, I said the prisons have actually sued the states for not incarcerating enough people. And you know, he couldn't believe it. It blew his mind. And I was like, yeah, dude, I'm like, this has been going on for a while now. I said, I don't know, a lot of people remember, but George Bush Jr., he got in trouble, not in trouble, but it was a thing during his campaign where he was using the, I thought it's like the CCA or some private prison from Texas, some company out of Texas, but he was using their private plane to fly around doing campaign stops with. And once he took office, that company just exploded. Like it just, you know, got a whole bunch of new government contracts those guys did.
Gee, I wonder how that happened.
Maybe it was a return favor for the plane.
Yeah, we just built here a new $100 million jail. And literally within the first 3 months of it being built, it was filled to capacity to overflowing, people sleeping on the floor in literally 3 months.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, when we look around here,
go ahead.
If you just drive around Pinellas, and you've been here, you go look at the brand new $90 million sheriff's department. You go down into St. Pete, the new $100 million police department. Go out to the jail, the new $100 million jail. You go out to the courts, the new $65 million courthouse. I mean, they just keep bleeding and bleeding and bleeding the American public to punish themselves, which is absurd.
It is.
One of the things I also found that was fascinating was I just took basically the budgets, the annual sheriff's budget, which does not include capital improvements like the jail and the new sheriff's office and the courts. That doesn't include this. But if I just added up all of his budgets for the 9 years he's been in office, he has personally, at his sheriff's office, has spent $2.3 billion of Pinellas County taxpayers' money punishing Pinellas County taxpayers. That's why I call it the Pinellas County punishment machine. And the punishment machine includes all the police agencies in the county, all the jails, all the courts, all the officers, everybody. And literally, we are spending over $1 billion a year just to punish people. And because we're spending so much money, they're punishing everybody they can possibly get their hands on because we've got so many officers. That's why everything is a crime now. It's got to end. And I think the people in America are just starting to wake up to this fact.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100% with you. You know, and unfortunately, it's not just Pinellas County. I mean, every county I go to, it's new courthouses, it's new police departments. A gentleman just sent me a screenshot of the new Jupiter Police Department being built. You know, and they spare no expenses on these public buildings. And you know, I want my employees working somewhere nice, but I don't think it should be the Taj Mahal of the county. You know what I mean? I definitely don't think the biggest, tallest building in my county should be my courthouse. You know, it's just insane how all this money is going out, like you said, to punish us. We're literally paying them to pull us over and suck more money out of our wallet every day, you know, or to harass us. And maybe it's not every single person watching. Maybe they're like, well, you know, I don't get harassed. You're still paying to have your neighbors harassed or the guy down the street harassed, you know, and it's just bad mojo, you know, it's bad karma, and it's going to come back around like we've been seeing with these protests and these riots.
It's not going to come back around. It's coming back around right now. It's coming home to roost right now. And I'm actually excited about what's going on.
Oh, yeah, no. There was a comment here in our comment section that says they watched the clip saying they're disbanding Minneapolis Police Department and there will be community policing. And they want to know what our opinions are on that. You guys want to go first on that, or?
Go ahead, Mr. Eyes on the stage. I don't know your full name.
Yeah, Bill is good.
Okay, Bill. I don't want to put you on the spot or anything.
That's all right. No big deal.
Bill, why don't you go ahead and answer this
anyway? I kind of think that in one way that's a really good idea to have that community policing like that. Call them when you need them, and to put more money into the neighborhoods and stuff that this stuff is going on in real bad, where this money is being dumped into these police departments. Like, I don't know, did you guys see when I was down in Tampa, the pictures that I was taking of the Pasco County Sheriff?
No, I didn't see
don't know if I saw the pictures. No,
they had a, what is it? 2-ton, the 2.5-ton military transport, the big truck.
Oh, the MRAP, yeah.
Yep. They had 2 of the 5-ton military transports. They had 3 Humvees, all loaded out to the hill. I mean, what do they need those for? What did they?
Did they all have really fancy, nice custom paint jobs with graphics on them?
Yep, they sure did.
Yeah, we have all those too. You know, we have 3 helicopters that I've got the bills and invoices for that each have $40,000 custom paint jobs on them. Wow. And it's so funny because the only people that sees those are the ground crew.
Yeah, because you don't see them as they're flying above you.
So why? One big sticker would do for any of that stuff. You know?
Yeah, you know, that's just a photo opportunity. They like to put the helicopters behind them and then stand in front of them and be like, we're looking out for you.
It's such nonsense. Here in Pinellas County, if you see any of the footage from the St. Pete Police Department that's brand new, they've got a great big statue out front. And if you read about it, it's a sculpture. It's huge. It's probably 50 feet tall. It's at least maybe 15 or 20 feet across at the base. And it's supposed to be some kind of a stainless steel sculpture of some kind of eagle wings. But if you stand back and look at it, it just looks like a great big pineapple. And this statue, this sculpture, cost the people of Pinellas County $170,000. At the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, they have a memorial to fallen soldiers. And I have no problem with a memorial to fallen soldiers, but they actually had a contest to see which Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies would be cast in bronze. They couldn't decide, so they picked two. So they had two Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies cast in solid bronze or bronze statues. They spent $79,000 each for these two statues. One guy's handing them a flag, the other person's accepting the little folded up flag. Why do we need $150,000 worth of friggin' bronze statues in front of the sheriff's department? That stuff pisses me off.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And to get back to on that community policing thing, there was I want to say there was an app not long ago. It was like 411 or something of that similar nature, but it was basically designed for that. If you were in trouble, you could punch up this app, and then people in the same area as you would get that notification. So let's say, for example, there's 5 guys that live around me, and I'm getting robbed, and I hit this app. Well, it shows up right on the screen like an emergency notification. Boom. Those guys will be there a lot quicker. Your neighbors are going to be there a lot quicker than the police department, than the ambulance, those other, things that are coming our way.
Yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, that's pretty much exactly what happened with that jogger in Georgia. And look how that turned out.
Yeah.
I mean, there's downsides to that too.
Yeah, of course there is. But unlike the police, the people that harm the jogger are actually going to be prosecuted and will probably get more than a slap on the wrist.
Well, one of the things that I've done here is I've actually talked to a lot of the leaders in the Black community around here, and they have a pretty simple battle cry: Black control of the police. Now, I've looked, and there really isn't technically a legal way to facilitate that. But what I can do as sheriff, and I planned on doing, is I plan on having a very tight grid pattern all across Pinellas County. And each grid will be a fairly small area. And I'm going to just assign a very small number of deputies to that small area, maybe 2, maybe 3 or 4, if I have to have 2 in the day, 2 at night, or whatever the case, however they are. But those 3 or 4 deputies are going to be assigned to that little teeny area. And everything that occurs in that area is going to be their responsibility. They're going to be responsible for that area's crime stats, everything that goes on. And they're not going to be placed there to harass people for broken taillights or riding their bike without a light. They're going to be placed there to really go after actual crimes with real victims. And the people in the community are going to know them. And I'm also going to have that website that ranks all the deputies. So if you have a bad deal with a deputy, you can go on our website and literally leave that deputy like a Yelp review with 0 to 5 stars and explain what he did to you. And we're going to keep monitoring them that way. And if these deputies are rejected by the community, I will take them out of the community until they get a deputy in their area that fits well with them, that they like, that they trust, that they know, that they can actually turn to help, not someone that's just going to criminalize them just because they called the police.
Right. I think that's an excellent idea.
That is.
And that actually, to me, would be, community policing, but done on a correct level. Hello,
Mr. Rights Crispy.
Hey, Sheriff. I'm going to call you Sheriff already.
You might
That's
as well.
Be my sheriff, guys.
Haha.
Yeah, I'm cooking a late dinner. My cousin's here making some good stuff. But I did want to pop in, pay my respects, and say hi. Thank you. Good luck. You have our support. We had a team meeting last night. I don't know if you guys told them already, but we're all going to make a big push on all our channels for your stuff. I'm sharing the logos with everyone.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, we appreciate you and your service to our community. And it's going to be an example for everybody else. If they don't live in Pinellas, they know to find a good opponent to their local sheriff. Hopefully somebody watching from Polk County will get rid of Grandpa GJ.
Well, that's actually what I initially set out to do. I honestly and sincerely figure that if I can break through this glass ceiling of police nonsense, that I can show the rest of the country that the sheriff's office is the most powerful office in their community. The Their direct freedom is directly tied to who that guy is. And if they want a certain type of policing, they have the right to elect it, and they're not beholden to just vote for whoever the sheriff's office picks. And I actually did a video about that that's going to be coming out soon. I call it chain of command inbreeding. And what that means is that these guys just pick who you get to pick for sheriff, and you're not actually even voting for a sheriff. They picked it for you. You just think you're voting for a sheriff.
Yeah, it's who's ever is backed by the police union also sometimes. That's like...
Exactly. Yeah. But from a sheriff's standpoint, that person does not have to be a sheriff or a police officer. It's just an administrative position, just like a county clerk or a mayor. So they can have someone like me come in and be their sheriff. And once I break through that glass ceiling and I show them this is what can be done if you elect somebody like me, and these are the changes that can be implemented now without having to beg a hard-headed police department that won't do anything for you anyway. I'm hoping that what I do here will spread all over the whole country. Yeah,
me too. And again, I was in and out. Thank you so much. You have our support, and good luck. And you guys, listen to this. Everyone watching, listen to this man. Remember this stuff. Share this video. Tell everybody that this is what has to happen in counties all across the U.S. Last election cycle, only 59% of sheriffs ran unopposed. So we need to, change out that, especially get rid of the corrupt ones, but also give somebody else a chance to change the type of policing. It's definitely not working the way it's going now. And you have some excellent ideas. Everybody go to the links that have been provided. Eyes on the State's putting up in the chat, and donate, support, read up. And I got to go. Take care, guys.
Enjoy that food. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, thank you.
Can you see these comments pulling up in the bottom of the screen too?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
I cannot see any comments, no.
No, the ones that I'm pulling up in the bottom of the screen right here? Like now?
Sorry if I missed it, but what experience does James have? As far as law enforcement experience, I have absolutely zero. That's why I'm such an incredible asset to be a sheriff. I'm not indoctrinated to the thin blue line. I'm not going to cover for deputies. I'm not going to kiss the union's ass. I'm not going to let my deputies beat up citizens and violate their constitutional rights. If I was a cop, I'd let them get away with all that stuff, which is exactly why we wound up where we are today.
Absolutely. And somebody mentioned that we should mention you on our other channels, and we do. As a matter of fact, I went live today and I let everybody know about tonight's episode after I talked to you, James, and knew that you would be willing to come on. And I let them know that you're on. And I think we'll do a couple of more lives this week to get that final push going there for you.
Well, we had a good day today. We actually tripled our previous record for donations today. We actually cleared the $10,300 mark for the campaign fee that I have to pay to be a sheriff, which is a crime in and of itself. And I'm probably going to be going in and qualifying early.
Excellent. Excellent. Noli D says he knows about the Constitution better than any cop I have ever seen. And I got to tell you, folks, I don't know if you watched my interview with James, but I had a chance to talk to him before the interview, and again, it's an amazing story that without evidence we probably never would have heard, and it's a story that many Americans would like to tell and would like to share, but they have no evidence to back it, and so it would be considered hearsay and just crazy talk. But James has put in as much work battling the sheriff's department as anybody that I know that's on YouTube battling. And he's did it, by himself without a community like I have behind me, right? Crispy has behind him. He just did it out of the fact that he wouldn't take no more. And there's a time in every man and woman's life when they say, hey, I just can't take no more. And we all know when we get there, the kind of effort we put into what it is that we want to do, and that's the kind of effort that James has put into getting this reform going there.
There was a couple comments here. Let me try and address those real quick before they go too far down the line. I was asked about qualified immunity. I hate it. The reason I hate it is because it allows really bad, dirty cops to stay on the job. And there are a number of different ways that I definitely intend on dismantling qualified immunity. I have no problem giving a deputy that deserves qualified immunity, but most of the time when these guys are doing something horrible, they need to be trash canned, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to figure out how to get through there and knock all this stuff out through use of force reforms that are on my campaign site, McLynas4Sheriff.com. Somebody else asked about the working with the unions. I've gone through the union contracts. I've dealt with what they've read. I've read what they've dealt to the people of Pinellas County, and it's absurd that the sheriff actually signed this crap. It basically says that if there's a problem and there's an arbitration, that the union gets to pick the arbitrator. How the hell are you ever going to get any satisfaction or accountability that way? So I don't give a damn about the unions. I don't care what they say. I'm not agreeing to any of that stuff. If they don't like it, then they could just take all of their union officers and get the hell out of my department. Somebody else also asked me about my qualifications, my background. I've got a consumer protection background. I started several different companies where I was basically battling large insurance companies that weren't paying their claims properly. I used to teach continuing education for attorneys on issues of property casualty claims, something called diminished value. I was a leader in that. I was an expert witness in the Mabry versus State Farm case that got a $1 billion settlement against State Farm for not paying their bills properly. So basically, I have this weird ability to look at very complex legal jargon and come up with a very simple solution. And I'm going to come up with a very simple solution for the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. Hello, News Now, South Florida. How you doing today? I can't hear you.
Yeah, that's right, because I was muted. Thank you.
All right, I can hear you now.
Okay, this was
I'm
one
doing
question.
wonderfully. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy to see you on our panel. I love your work. I've supported you from the beginning, and I'm so happy to be part of your panel.
And I'm glad that you're here. Thank you. Appreciate the support.
I love that
Yep.
you were just talking about unions and you know, the union, the police union, and you'd know more than I do, but I feel like I want to say I've read somewhere that they can retire at like 50 years old and draw union pension.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how old they are. Retirement is based on number of years served. So in a lot of places, a deputy can serve 20 years or 25 years and then retire. And we have deputies here in Pinellas County that are running a little scam. And what they do is they work for the 20 years, and then there's a program called DROP. And what they do is they wind up getting a huge paycheck to quit so that they can step aside and let other deputies come into command positions so that good deputies don't quit because the jobs are all full and nobody's leaving. So what they do here is they work their 20, 25 years. Then they get literally, I've seen the checks. These deputies have been paid over $500,000 in one check to leave and go home. Then they collect their $45,000, $48,000, $5,000 a month pension. Okay. Then what Sheriff Galtieri does is the law says that they used to say that they could not come back within 5 years. But then they went ahead and changed that, slipped it in where they could come back in 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year.
So then these guys go quit, retire, collect their $4,800 a month, get the $500,000, then come back, sign back up, take their old job back or a new created job for them with even a bigger paycheck. And we literally have Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies right now that are literally taking home over $255,000 a year as a Pinellas County deputy and that have collected over $1.3 million in compensation in less than 4 years. Literally millionaire deputies out of taxpayer pockets. What the hell?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Wow.
And that doesn't seem sustainable, obviously, to anybody who has even an iota of sense in economics. That doesn't seem sustainable. So I mean, that's a self. It's gonna collapse on itself at the cost of us taxpayers.
Well, it is sustainable because they can just create a new law and steal more of your money anytime they want, which is exactly what they do. And here in Pinellas County, they currently have $1.8 billion of taxpayer money set aside just for all their cushy retirements. So they literally have the best retirements in the world while the taxpayers struggle to put food on the table.
Yeah, there are cities that tax the taxpayers upwards of $5 billion a year, that all goes towards LEO funded retirements and stuff like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, the private sector learned about 25 years ago that those kinds of big fat pensions were unsustainable and they would kill the company. And so you don't see that in the private sector anymore. So why is it that the police industry seems to think that they should be more entitled than some of these high-ranking executives in all these major Fortune 500 companies? They should get better than that as public servants. Public servants should not become wealthy as public servants while taxpayers suffer.
Yeah. And that's a great platform to run on right there. Public servants should not become wealthy while taxpayers suffer. That's a fantastic.
That's what I'm about.
Oops, sorry, I'm having a puppy issue here. Come on. I got a new Catahoula 2 days ago.
Is that a Catahoula?
Yeah.
Because I had no idea what a Catahoula was till this minute.
Me neither.
Now if somebody calls me that, I'll know what they're talking about.
There you go. So talk to me a little bit, James, about how, like, tell me a little bit about your system of getting your name out there. Like, what have you been doing to, like, I know you ran 4 years ago, and if I'm not mistaken, I believe you got 22 or 23% of the vote. And last time, 4 years ago, what have you done to put your name out there now? What are you doing to gather constituency, if you will? What are you doing? Like, give me a rundown.
Well, 2016 was actually a very interesting campaign season. The first thing that happened in 2016 was I started becoming interested in the sheriff's department, and some of my story is actually on my website. I've got a professional author named Bill Stone. He's an investigative journalist, and he's literally writing my story about what happened to me with the sheriff's office here. I've got half of it. Part one is a rough draft that's on my website right now, and he's just doing some finalization on the first half. Then we're going to roll into the second half. But oh wow, there I am.
There you are.
Yeah, if you go up there and you go about James McLynas. If that's the story that he wrote, Stoking an Ember, and it's a pretty interesting story, even if it's about what happened to me and what all these deputies did, helping my ex-wife try and take my child from me, and what they did was they just basically harassed me and followed me around. Wrote false reports against me. You know, by the time she was done, I had literally over 150 false police reports written against me. I had 22 false child protective investigations. I had 8 false domestic violence injunctions against me, and I was arrested 4 different times based on what these cops were doing. But then I was able to, my daughter came home with my ex-wife's cell phone in her backpack, and it was unlocked, and I started looking at it, and oh my God, all these deputies and police officers that have been harassing me are on her phone and messaging her back and forth and sexting her and all this other kind of stuff. So she had this little scam going where the worse that they would screw me, the more she would screw them. So finally, bingo, now I know why all this stuff is going on. So I started filing complaint after complaint after complaint about all the documentation. I mean, we had a lieutenant of the Clearwater Police Department that she was seeing parked in front of my house, taking photographs of the people that would come to see me, running their license plate through the confidential David system, taking a picture of the screen, then sending it to my ex-wife, and then helping my ex-wife file fake criminal charges against people who just came to visit me. I mean, this is how crazy it was going. Wow. So when I started filing complaints with the Clearwater Police Department, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, I was actually thinking that they might do something. You know, here I've got all this proof of what these people are doing. This is insane. And instead of doing anything, Chief Holloway, which was the chief of the Clearwater Police Department at the time, now he's the chief of the St. Pete Police Department, and Sheriff Galtieri both not only did nothing about it, but they reinforced, circled the wagons, and protected these deputies and started coming after me even more. It was like, holy crap, it was Twilight kind of stuff, Twilight Zone stuff. And so I just kept filing complaints and documenting and pushing back against these officers. And finally, when I wasn't getting anywhere, I went to the press, went to the media, and showed them the documentation that I have. And then some of these stories started to appear in the newspapers, which then put pressure on these police agencies to do something about these deputies. I was able to get 2 of them fired, but Galtieri still covered for so much of the stuff that was going on. So I told Galtieri in an email, I'm going to run for sheriff against you and expose your massive corruption in the 2016 elections. A week later, he had my 9-year-old daughter arrested from my ex-wife's house in handcuffs, claiming that sweet little 60-pound, 4.5-foot tall child assaulted my ex-wife.
What?
The next week when she was supposed to come back to me, they were afraid that they were going to tell me, she was going to tell me what they had done to her. So right before they were supposed to send her back to me, they Baker acted her for the weekend I was supposed to have her, so I wouldn't find out what they did to her. And then when I found out about it, they thought that I would get so mad about all this stuff that I would lose my cool and I would go crazy, and then would give them an excuse to shoot and kill me, literally. And when that didn't work, a week later, Sheriff Galtieri filed 4 false felony charges against me. Then he used a Stingray tracking device illegally without a warrant and had me arrested the day before my custody hearing so I would lose my child. That's what we're dealing with. That's the kind of corruption we're dealing with here at the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. And fortunately, I hate to say this, I think I'm a pretty smart guy as far as figuring stuff out. So I was able to get all the documentation, all the prove the deputies lied. I had gone to the court systems. I fired my attorney because he wouldn't recuse the judge. I represented myself. I got a guardian ad litem, a child psychological evaluator for the family, showed all my evidence to them. So when I was in jail, the sheriff lost my paperwork, so I couldn't bond out, couldn't get to the hearing. But this child psychologist went to the hearing and said that the fact that I was in jail was not an accident. And he actually testified that my ex-wife was a homicide threat to my child. And while I was in jail under these false charges, I am the only person in the state of Florida to receive 100% custody while I was incarcerated. When I got out the next day, I went straight to the election office and signed up to run for the 2016 election.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And that's the story that this professional author is writing, and he thinks that it's going to be a fantastic screenplay. He calls it Walking Tall Without the Big Stick.
He calls it Walking Tall Without the Big Stick. That's funny.
Yeah, and he thinks he's actually going to be able to pitch it to Hollywood and have him make it.
Joe Public's asking. It looks like he's saying Baker Act ? I think he's in the UK. Baker Act is like a 3-day, 72-hour?
Yeah, a Baker acting is where they can take you against your will and lock you in basically a psych ward, and you can't contact anybody, you can't see anybody, you can't call anybody, you can't go anywhere, you don't have the right to say no to drugs, and they hold you there for 3 days based on the premise that you're either a danger to yourself or a danger to others. So they were saying that my poor little 9-year-old daughter was a danger to herself and others when absolutely that was not the case.
Yeah. So that's the story of James McLynas getting us into why he's running for sheriff. And that is just a fantastical, maybe not in a positive way, but a fantastical story. And it's just the corruption and the craziness that you see that's Grady Judd's territory, right?
He's got a lot of interesting police thoughts and concepts going on up there.
Here's a good question for you at the bottom right now. I don't know if you can see it or not.
How will you handle the criminal acts of a certain group, in quotes, in downtown Clearwater that is not just in the city?
Yeah, they've got a rather interesting problem there because, in my opinion, they've got too cozy of a relationship with the Clearwater Police Department. I've actually seen video. It was Lee Remini or whatever that woman's name is that was exposing them. And she was standing on a corner that was probably about maybe 12 blocks from where I lived at the time. She was on a public sidewalk, and they were doing an interview on the sidewalk just down the street from one of these Scientology buildings. And all of a sudden, the Clearwater police showed up and told them that they had to leave. They had to leave the public sidewalk. Otherwise, they were going to be arrested. And these are Clearwater police officers. She's on a public sidewalk. And it was astounding to me that they would do that. And so one of the ways that I plan on addressing everything that goes on in Pinellas County is we're going to be starting our what I call political corruption unit. And my political corruption unit is going to investigate any corruption of any political organization, any mayor, any city council member, any police officer. If they are within the four corners of Pinellas County, they're going to be subject to my investigation for corruption. I'm going to be arresting code enforcement officers, police officers. I will arrest the chief of police if he's doing something wrong over there as well. I don't care who they are.
They cornered me up over there too one day.
Yeah, police accountability was talking about it's broken many families. Yeah, there's a guy here in town. His name is Greg Pound. And Greg Pound basically had a very similar situation to me a few years earlier, about 8 or 10 years earlier. And he went to try and do something about the corruption in the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, and they wound up arresting him, taking his children from him. He then decided to run for sheriff, and then they really piled it onto him. He was invited to a sheriff's debate, and he was going in the forum trying to go through the front door, and the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department stopped him, wouldn't let him go in, and then Baker acted him so that he couldn't attend the event, even though he was invited. They literally took his children away from him permanently. And to give you an example of how far they took it, he would stand on a corner with a sign, a cardboard sign in the morning. It just said, "I love you," because he knew that his kids that were stolen from him drove in their school bus past them to the school. The Pinellas County Sheriff's Department came and arrested him for violating the restraining order that they put against him for seeing his own kids, just because he stood on a corner with a sign that said, "I love you," to his own children. Now, he fought and fought and fought for a long time, and it's taken its toll on him. It's something that a lot of people can't go through. He was unsuccessful at fighting for his children, and I think I was just uniquely equipped to fight back against a system like this and keep mine.
Yeah, you just posted Tyrant Slayer Studios comment there. He or she commented earlier, "We need this guy in Connecticut." So Tyrant Slayer Studios is a big fan of you, James.
Well, hey, let me mention something about that. Here's something that's really interesting. You know, you asked a question earlier about how do you plan on getting the word out and everything. Well, in 2016, I'd be the first to admit I was a novice at running for sheriff. I literally thought that if I had proof that the sheriff had arrested his political candidate, they'd put it in the paper. And wrong. They cover for the sheriff. They endorse the sheriff. They wouldn't print any of the corruption that I had proof of. The other thing I thought was in 2016, the biggest event in Florida was medical cannabis. It was the main topic of the entire campaign, the entire election. Medical cannabis. Was it going to make it through? Was it going to get passed or not? Was the topic. And I was a sheriff running for sheriff at that time, and my platform position was very simple, same as it is today, that I will end all cannabis enforcement. But yet the Tampa Bay Times and the local media would not say a single word in their newspapers about my platform position of me ending cannabis enforcement, because they didn't want the people of Pinellas to hear, and they didn't want me to win. So now I've taken my campaign out of their hands. I'm not begging the local media to expose me anymore. I've got my own plans, and we're going to get plenty of exposure without them.
Yeah, you don't need the local media all the time.
No. Yeah, like one of the things that's interesting is since I put my website out a little over 3 weeks ago, my website has been viewed by 44 states out of the 50 so far. It has been viewed in 29 different countries, and it's been viewed in over 1,600 cities. So my platform isn't just a Pinellas County platform, and I'm receiving donations from all over the world, all over the country. I've had to return donations from other countries already.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at that doggy.
In the window.
He's a sweetheart.
Let me put your donation link back up here again, too.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes.
So you're News Now, South Florida. Where are you located at? Where do you do most of your work down there exposing corruption?
I'm down in DeSoto County, which so I live in Arcadia, which isn't too far away from you, maybe about an hour and a half away, I think. And so I live in DeSoto County, and I've done a little bit of work in my county. You know, one thing I've noticed about a lot of auditors, and I'm not saying this is wrong, I understand this, but a lot of auditors tend to not do a whole lot of work in their own county. And I get it. I get why. You know, you don't want to expose you don't want to shit where you eat, right? I guess is the
you don't want that stuff following you home too much.
Right. So, but I actually get out and I expose my guys here in town, and you know, my kind of claim to fame in this area, and Rogue Nation, and well, I don't know if Eyes on the State's been in my town auditing with me, but Rogue Nation has, Rights Crispy has, GA has, and one of the antagonists in my town has been Corporal Matos, and there's about 4 or 5 videos on my channel involving him, and we've actually gotten him demoted to Officer Matos.
That's awesome.
Rogue Nation has gotten a settled out of court lawsuit with Matos. So, you know, we've made a good change here in my town. And the cops here now know me to the point where, you know, they see me coming and they already know who I am. And
They already know what's coming.
I give them my name. I don't care. Yep.
Yeah, I know what that's like.
So.
Yeah, they all know me around here.
I don't think I'm quite to the extent of you, James. I think you've got me beat on that front, but
yeah, I keep waiting to see what I keep waiting to see what they're going to try and do to me this election season. You know, they tried all the false arrests, and I beat their asses on that, and so I'm not sure exactly what they have planned. The only way they're going to keep me out of this office is to kill me.
Well, let's hope.
You know, I think it's awesome that you're running. Go ahead, Eyes.
No, I'm good. You go.
Wolfie just said, oh yeah, Wolfie was here too. Wolfie said that Matos thinks we're trying to kill him. Wolfie was here in my town auditing Matos as well. But James, I think it's amazing what you're doing, and I'll be probably not be the first to say that it has been an inspiration for us as an auditing community to watch one of the normal people, one of the laymen, if you will, step up and really make, you know, real groundwork, real footwork in this battle. And you've really made headway. You've really gone in there, and you've gotten people to see you. You've gotten people to recognize you. You know, all we do is put a video online, and maybe some people from California watch it. You've got people in your town watching what you do make a difference, and it's inspiring. I can say for me, and I'm sure many of the people on the panel would say the same.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. You know, it's not that I'm doing this for you guys, even though I hope you can benefit from what I'm doing, but it all boiled down to the fact that they did my daughter dirty, and my daughter has to grow up, and I can't live in a corrupt society. That's just me. There is no black and white. Either it's right or wrong, and I am going to rally against this literally until I'm dead or I change it. And I think that the time is now, that the time is right for me to change this. I think that the whole world is clamoring for a solution, and I literally have the solution to every single thing they are asking for on my platform. And the people need to be taught across the world that if you have someone like me in your community, all you need to do to implement these changes is to vote for him. Like, as an example, Cannabis Freedom. You can spend 10 years banging your head against the legislators' doors up in Tallahassee, and you're still not going to get Cannabis Freedom. But yet in Pinellas County, we can have Cannabis Freedom by my election in November by simply voting for me. Bam, Cannabis Freedom, the day I take office. We can have a constitutional sheriff the day I take office. Bam, that's simple, same vote. We can have a guy that's going to round up all the corrupt deputies and get them the hell out of this county the day I take office. All of these changes can be implemented immediately without having to beg the police industry or beg your legislators or change laws by simply voting in the right sheriff. And I see all these people on the news, all these newscasters, all these protesters. They're all like, gee, what are we going to do? Where do we take this from here? I have no idea how we can make these changes. Oh my God, it's so simple. Run for sheriff. It's that simple. Put a campaign together, put a platform together, take on your corrupt sheriff, because right now the people are begging for accountability. They're begging for their rights. They're begging for their freedom. And my campaign slogan is simple: vote McLynas, free Pinellas. And people can do this all across the United States by doing the exact same thing I'm doing.
Yep.
It's like the freedom template.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, I like that.
I like that. The freedom template. I like that.
Need more.
So okay, so since we have a little lull here in our
James needs.
let me ask you this.
It says James needs bite-sized videos that lay out his ideas. Got to think viral. Well, it's funny you say that, because I was in a studio the last 2 days filming about a dozen bite-sized commercials that were in the process of mixing, chopping, and editing, and they should be out within the next 8 to 10 days.
Boom. Bang.
Well, we had a lot of ideas. We have a lot of concepts. People ask me, well, you're going to do signs? Are you going to make bumper stickers? That kind of stuff. And my first priority, obviously, was dealing with this $10,300 fee. Here in Florida, election laws are very simple. Basically, just the rich guys aren't supposed to be able to be on the ballot. You shouldn't be. There shouldn't be a $10,000 fee for you to appear on any ballot in any community for any office. But that's the way it is. But in Florida, there was an alternative, and the alternative was the petition process. So if somebody wanted to be a sheriff, as an example, you had to just go get so many signatures from people in your county that want you to be sheriff, and you turn those in, and you wouldn't have to pay the fee. Here in Pinellas County, the number was 6,800 signature petitions. Well, interestingly enough, right when I'm starting the petition process, so I don't have to pay the $10,000 fee, my political opponent made collecting signatures a non-essential activity. He threatened to arrest me if I went door to door asking for signatures. He passed his own rules and ordinances that basically said that campaigning was not a legal activity anymore during the COVID-19 lockdown. So here, my ability to be able to be on the ballot without paying the 10 grand was literally blocked by my political opponent. Now, I just filed a campaign violation complaint against him today for that. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But either way, I still had to pay the $10,300 fee, but I'm still going to go after him. And I'm going to try and hang his ass for what he did, because what he did was he used his political power to shut me down, when he very easily could have just listed campaigning or petition collection as an essential activity and not done that to me.
That's crazy. I don't even know how that would fly, as it's the governor who makes what's essential and what's not essential.
Yes.
Well, they did not do that here. What happened here was the governor gave some guidelines, basically. And I literally have DeSantis on video saying, I never closed any business. My orders specifically did not close any business. And I literally have him saying that. And then I have the county commissioners here at Pinellas, along with Sheriff Galtieri, holding multiple meetings saying that this is serious and we can't fool around with this and we need to shut our businesses down. And Sheriff Galtieri, we're going to just rely upon you to come up with the list of businesses that you think should shut down, and that's the ones that we're going to shut down. And that's what they did. They literally passed a county ordinance closing and making it illegal to operate bars and hair salons and hairdressers. And they then went out and arrested people that had their businesses open here in Pinellas County. Sheriff Galtieri actually personally went to a store and arrested a man who was doing curbside service for his game business. So here you have a sheriff that literally decided to violate the constitutional rights of everybody here in the county and destroy the Pinellas County economy single-handedly, all by himself, on top of being a corrupt, iron-fisted police tyrant. I don't know whether you guys are getting this or not, but I really don't like the guy.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell.
I could have swore he was on your Christmas card list.
Yeah, I got one special card just for him. So what else you guys got?
He's the guy that you light a bag of shit on fire on the doorstep.
Yeah, it was really annoying to me because he and his wife have gotten 3 appointments from governors, and they collect a combined $355,000 a year in paychecks from the taxpayer. He got paid during COVID-19. He didn't have to worry about putting food on his family, but he had the balls to come out there and say, I'm sorry, all you waitresses, you've got to go home and figure out how to feed your 3 kids some other way. Oh, by the way, and you can't leave the house to do it. Yeah, that really, really upset me. What a huge violation of constitutional rights, and what a destruction of the Pinellas County economy.
Hey, Eyes on the State. Can we scroll back and find out what Google user's question was? Google user says, I really wish James would answer my question. Did he ask something important that we need to find?
I think it's this about Nassau County. There's that.
Yeah, I get people from all over the country telling me about how horrible things are there too. And the bottom line is it's horrible everywhere. The police industry is literally out of control. They've been out of control for at least 50 to 100 years. And you have corrupt officers doing literally the most disgusting things you could possibly imagine on every corner of the United States. And unfortunately, I can't fix all of those. I'm going to fix Pinellas County, and then I'm going to show the rest of the country how they can fix theirs.
And how about this one here? MD said, News Now South Florida, ask him about the boats that the sheriff had to have for COVID monitoring. I'm not sure what that is. Do you know what that's about?
Yeah, I did. I actually did a YouTube video on my YouTube channel, McLynas for Sheriff on YouTube. And what I did was I lived in a place that overlooks a popular sandbar where the boat hangs out. And so I've got a pretty big camera with a really good zoom, and I set it up on the back balcony, and I videotaped these boats harassing these boaters all day long. And then I also intermixed video from the city council meeting where Sheriff Galtieri just a few months earlier was crying to the council members that he needs more money for boats and we don't have any coverage. It's a really bad situation. We got so few boats and we need more, and we need more money, and I need 2 more boats for $450,000. We need more deputies and more police officers, more taxpayers' money. But then I showed that they had literally 4 Pinellas County Sheriff's boats circling this little sandbar with literally 40 boats on it all day long, harassing these boaters, while there was also a Treasure Island police boat doing the same thing and a Fish and Wildlife Management boat doing the exact same thing for these 40 boats all day long. Plus, they had a Pinellas County Sheriff's helicopter buzzing the boats at least a few times a day. All of that for the 40 lousy boats on the sandbar that were just trying to enjoy themselves. And that's what we need to show the people is the huge, massive amount of over-policing, wasted resources, and like people are calling for now, defund the police because these bastards are stealing billions of dollars from us to buy more toys and harass us even more.
Yep.
That's the boat story.
Did you ever find out by any chance everything about that private jet that they just bought?
It's not a private jet. It's a single prop plane, and he paid about $1.5 million for it, and it came out of the money appeared from thin air. And I have him again in a May 2019 budget meeting, the one where he's supposed to be talking about the money he needs for 2020. And he was talking about how they don't have enough money. They're barely making by. They're doing without, that we don't even have enough of the essentials, blah, 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 blah. More money from the taxpayer's pocket, lying to the taxpayers. And then a few months later, literally a few months later, 4 months later, he's purchasing this $1.5 million 10-passenger private airplane. Now, you can't tell me that while he was in there running his mouth, poor mouthing to the city council, that he didn't know that plane deal was in the works. He didn't just decide to buy a plane a couple of months later out of the blue. And even in that meeting, you could see he said something that was telltale. He said, and a few other things on the horizon that, we're probably going to have to deal with next year. We need a new hangar out at the airport. Our other hangar is getting a little tight, a little congested, and a little run down, and we need a new airplane hangar out there. So he's pitching them for a new hangar for the airplane he already knows he's going to buy. And then when Channel 10 called him out and tried to find out, where'd you get the money for the plane? How much did it cost? Where was the money appropriated from, and what's the plane going to be used for? The sheriff responded to the news crew that it's none of their business.
Yeah. He refuses to answer anything about it at all.
Yes. Now, I think I know what the plane is going to be used for, because Sheriff Galtieri is a huge spy guy. He likes to spy on our citizens. He's using stingrays. He's using license plate readers. He's using social media spying. He's using every technique that he could, facial recognition. I don't know whether you guys know this or not, but Pinellas County Sheriff has his own facial recognition program that has 30 million faces in it. And
Really?
it's owned and paid for by the people of Pinellas County. Now, we only have, 30-something million people in the state of Florida. We've only got 900 and something people in Pinellas County, but he's got 30 million people's faces in his own private Pinellas County Sheriff's facial recognition program. They used to set cameras out at the airport and capture the faces of everybody coming and going at the airports here. Insanity. So what I think he's going to do with this plane is, I don't know whether you guys saw that story about what was going on up in, I think, the Boston area, where they had a spy plane that was going to literally be running a pattern over Boston with these huge military-style cameras, literally 24/7, taking photographs of everything like it's a battlefield of Iraq. Have you guys heard about that?
Mm-hmm. I've seen that
Okay.
they've done that. Yeah.
No, I haven't heard about it.
Well, I actually have a picture of the exact plane that they use in Boston for that exact project, with the big, huge camera hanging off the bottom of it. And what a coincidence. It's the exact same kind of plane that Sheriff Galtieri just bought. And in the meeting, in the 2019 budget meeting, Sheriff Galtieri was saying that he needed $450,000 for some new technology for him to be able to retrieve the cameras from the footage from the helicopters in real time. I mean, he needs $450,000 for that. My cell phone does that. I can do that out the window of the helicopter with my cell phone, you know.
Yep.
It's called Facebook Live, you know. So it's asinine. It's insane. But basically, he's, again, lying to the people of Pinellas, trying to get them to pay $450,000 for that big, huge spy camera that he's going to stick on the side of that $1.5 million plane to figure out a new way to spy on Pinellas County citizens. As Sheriff of Pinellas County, I'm going to trash every single one of these spying apparatuses, the systems that they have up in Pinellas County. I'm going to stop wasting our money on spying on ourselves and end the peeping Tom that is Sheriff Galtieri.
Yeah, that's crazy to know that that's what he's going to do with it, though. It is.
Well, why else does a county sheriff need a 10-passenger plane? Fly from one side of the county to the other?
Yeah.
Fly from St. to the Clearwater Airport back and forth? I mean,
maybe.
There literally is no legitimate reason for a county sheriff to have a 10-passenger plane. None. That's one of the first things I'm going to be putting on eBay when I get in office.
Not unless he is planning to start a second life with, like, the Partridge Family.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said not unless he plans to start like a second job as a Partridge Family type deal.
I have no idea what that guy's going to do, but I want him out of office. And I don't want him going anywhere else.
Captain. My answer was he was going to go visit Epstein's Island with some guests.
That's closed down now because Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah, half of it burned down a couple nights after that happened.
Sure, it's
what a coincidence.
Sure, it's closed down. Okay.
It is. They've gone to a new island now.
Well,
they don't go to that one anymore.
Of course.
It'll always be
Now
somewhere.
Yeah, now it's the Barry Seal Island.
Right?
Oh, man.
Any more questions out there?
Turn my mic up a wee bit. Sorry, Tyrant. Let's see. Is there any questions? I saw one earlier. We got so involved in our last conversation that I didn't read it off.
Sorry about that. I have a tendency to blab on.
No, it's been fantastic.
Yep.
I've loved it.
What do you think about him calling and saying that the people arrested for the minor misdemeanors for protesting should be denied bail?
Oh, yeah, that was the big story from yesterday and today. What's interesting about that is Sheriff Galtieri is an attorney. And I personally think that it is a massive conflict of interest for the sheriff, who is an attorney, to contact a judge in an ex parte communication in a criminal case that he is involved in directly, and try and facilitate a negative action to be instituted against these people that were conducting constitutionally protected activities.
Yep.
So based on that, you never guess what I did today. Anyone want to guess?
I think you filed.
I filed a bar complaint against Sheriff Galtieri today for using his authority to do a ex parte communication with a conflict of interest. So
Did they
I don't know if
accept
I don't think if well they can't. It's not whether they accept it or not. I sent it to them, and they're going to have to deal with it one way or another. And I actually sent them the newspaper clips where he was saying that he did it. He admitted that he did it. I have the newscast report link where he said that, he only did that to people that were committed violent acts. I didn't do that to anybody other than people with violent acts. But then the newscaster showed the tickets to two people, one that had been disorderly, one that had been, what was it? The other one, disorderly and unlawful assembly, which are neither of are violent. And both of those were stamped no bond right on them.
Yep.
So I sent all that to the Bar Association. They typically don't do anything about it, but this was a pretty egregious overstep in my opinion. And it's just another classic example of why he's a tyrant and he needs to be taken out of office. He's arresting people and punishing people and using his personal vendettas against them for literally conducting constitutionally protected activities like assembly, like the right to protest, like free to travel, like free to speak.
Yep. He's not doing very good about it over there. That's for sure.
The Constitution's not that difficult. It's pretty simple, actually. People have a right to say something, even if you don't like it. People have a right to be there, even if you don't want them there. As a constitutional sheriff, the people aren't going to have to ask to have their rights not violated here in Pinellas County. We're going to have a very simple test that we're going to do about every single law, rule, regulation that we're asked to enforce. It's going to go past the constitutional test. Does it violate the Constitution? And if the answer to that question is yes, it does, the answer is we will not be enforcing it, period, across the board. Okay, I'm in touch with a lot of people all across the country in regard to the concepts that I have and what I'm doing. There isn't any actual organization that does what I do because I'm actually the first person to do what I do. So people are supporting me, but it's not technically evolved into an organization yet, but I think that it would be.
He wins. I'm moving.
I just read that too. Noli D.
When I win, Pinellas County is going to be literally one of the best places that you could possibly live all in Florida.
I agree. Yeah. So let me take this another direction, James. If I may, Mr. McLynas, let me take.
You take it any direction you want. I'm not scared.
So when you are the sheriff of Pinellas County, how are you going to feel about people like myself and obviously Rogue Nation and all of the Bolt Action News Group coming and auditing you guys on a regular basis?
Oh, come on down. Why the heck would I care? Help show me if any of these deputies are being assholes, and I'll get rid of them for you. I mean, seriously, it's that simple. I mean, one of the things that you guys have to understand is that when I take office, I don't know how many deputies that are actually down there hiding in the hallways and in their cars parked out behind churches and everything, but there's a lot of them. And I don't even know if there's going to be a venue big enough for me to squeeze them all in. But when there is that venue and I am there and I am their new sheriff, I'm going to have a very simple, huge, massive meeting for all of them. And I'm just going to pace back and forth across the stage and say things like, if you like beating people's ass with nightsticks, there's the door. Go. If you enjoy violating people's rights, we don't need you here anymore. Go before I find you and fire you. If you think it's funny to hurt people, if you like to file false reports, if you like to lie on your reports, get the hell out. Because if you don't get the hell out now, I will find you and I will push you out. So I literally think that in most police agencies, there's about a third mix. You've got about a third of the officers that I think are just pieces of shit. Pardon my French. Pieces of merde. There, that's French. And
doo-doo.
and these guys should have never had a badge and a gun in the first place. And they will always do the wrong thing, always abuse their power, always abuse their authority, and they have no idea what the friggin' law is. They don't need to be cops. Then on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, you've got about a third of the officers in most agencies that are actually decent people. They actually became cops for the right reason. They really want to help their community. They don't like what those bad cops are doing, but if they say something about it, they're out of a job and that their department's worse for it. And those are the guys that I want to support. And the middle third, those guys will just typically tilt in whatever direction they're partnered with. So if they're partnered with a corrupt deputy that day, they're going to be a head-thumping, corrupt asshole that day too. If they're partnered with a good deputy, they're going to behave themselves and be a good deputy. So my job coming into the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department is literally to eliminate 1/3 of the agency, promote the good third, put them in charge of the middle third, and hopefully we might be able to save them.
Well, there's over 3,000 members of service in 5 major service categories, it says, for Pinellas County.
Yeah, but a lot of those are not sworn officers. I can't get Sheriff Galtieri to give me a number of exactly how many sworn officers there are. Every time I try and look up, it tends to fluctuate between 1,600 and 2,200, and I still can't get a straight answer out of him. But I'm going to find out, and we're going to eliminate about a third of them.
Yeah.
People ask me, well, how are you gonna police Pinellas with so many cops that are gonna quit or leave if you become sheriff? I want them to leave, because I tell you what, every deputy that quits because I'm a sheriff is a deputy we didn't need in Pinellas County anyway, because all I'm doing is holding them accountable. So if they're afraid of accountability and they want to leave, good riddance. They can go work someplace else and get the hell out of our county. But if I just simply take my position as an example of ending cannabis enforcement, cannabis enforcement is ludicrous to arrest people for. I'm not a big pot smoker. I used to do that when I was a kid. Any person that tells you that they grew up in the 70s and didn't smoke pot is a liar. So the bottom line here is, I'm not against pot. I'm not
any
for
kid
it.
that grew up in any decade that tells you that's a liar.
Well, if I get older and I start getting achy and creaky, if that's an option for me, I want to be able to use it without winding up getting my ass beat because I smoked a joint watching a sunset on Pinellas Beach. Yep. But the point about the cannabis enforcement is Sheriff Galtieri said in a meeting, I snuck into a Pinellas County Trial Lawyers Association meeting. A lawyer slipped me in, and Galtieri was up in front of this group talking. And he actually said that about a third of his resources, about a third of his arrests and resources are spent on cannabis enforcement. And these are the guys that drive around in the car. They do the pretextual stop. They don't like the way you look. You got tinted windows. They're going to come up with an excuse to pull you over. As soon as they pull up the window, yeah, you'd be a target. Exactly. I smell pot. Get out of the car. Let's get the dog. The dog falls hits. We're going to search your car. I mean, same thing that I watch on what is it on TV, the live PD. My daughters and I sit there and watch that, and we go, okay, they just pulled him over. Let's do the countdown. Start the stopwatch before they say, is there anything in the car I need to know about? Because they're going to try and search that car no matter what. All that ends, all those resources that are wasted, and the pot, the 30% of the pot arrests end with me. So if I just literally stop and end cannabis enforcement, I literally can save 1/3 of the budget of the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department, and I don't need 1/3 of those officers. So if a third of them want to leave, that's fine, because we're not going to be enforcing pot anyway, and we won't need them.
Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. I see at least 4 units in those 5 major service categories that would be completely eliminated with that.
Oh, I'm gonna get rid of the drug dogs. We don't need those. We don't need attack dogs either. I'm getting rid of those. What we need is some beagles. When they catch you, they lick you to death. No more biting dogs. All this stuff I'm going to get rid of. Another interesting point about the cannabis thing is Sheriff Galtieri destroyed the Pinellas County economy. He did. He literally destroyed us here. About 23% of the businesses are going to permanently fail. We're going to have unemployment rates that are going to top 20%, regardless of what the official rate is. The actual people that aren't working are going to be at least 20 to 22% here in Pinellas County. The damage has been done. It's something that is not avoidable at any point from here on out. But I'm the only person in the entire state, in the county, maybe even in the country, that actually has a plan on how to resolve this and solve that problem for the people of Pinellas, and that's my position on cannabis. And if you go on my website, McLynasforSheriff.com, I have a complete explanation of how exactly I intend on doing all these things, ending the enforcement and helping the economy. So it's my position that with cannabis enforcement being eliminated, we become what I call a cannabis-friendly destination. Now, if we did that, we would literally be the only cannabis-friendly destination in the entire state of Florida. Here in Pinellas in 2019, we had 15 million visitors. 15 million tourists decided to come to Pinellas County. Yeah, the number one, that little leaf there, if you pop on that number one leaf, that's my cannabis program. And all of those things are how I'm going to implement free cannabis in Pinellas County. And if you click on any one of those, like cannabis enforcement the day I take office, if you click on that and the read more, it'll open up and explain exactly how I'm going to end cannabis. And so if you go through all that and read everything that I'm doing, that's a little graph that shows you how much we've wasted on cannabis enforcement since the war on drugs started. The blue line is the number of people that are addicted. The green line is how much we've spent on cannabis or drug enforcement, and it's not changed a damn thing. So as a sheriff, I'm going to end that wasting of the money. But the point that I'm getting at is if we were cannabis friendly, we had 130 million people that came to Florida in 2019 for a visit. And when they are going to come here after I'm in office, out of that 130 million people, if you take the number of people that are cannabis friendly out of that, the studies show it's anywhere from 23-24% of the population. If you add in the fact that people that come to a place that's cannabis friendly might try it just for the heck of it, if they've never even smoked it, just because they know they won't get in trouble, that when in Rome thing, there could be up to 35% of those 130 million people that would prefer to go to a cannabis friendly donation or destination. So if I did this in Pinellas County and you took that 130 million people and even used the lowest number of potential cannabis users at 22%, that means that that's 30 million people that came to Florida in 2019 and probably will come in 2020 that would probably choose a cannabis-friendly location rather than go to Daytona Beach where they're going to get arrested or Fort Lauderdale where they're going to get arrested. If they could come here and know that they could smoke a joint on the beach and relax and not be beaten up and arrested and caged for it, I think that I can literally double tourism here in Pinellas County. Literally double it.
Overnight.
And if we double tourism here in Pinellas County, every single bar would be full, every hotel, every resort, every restaurant, there'd be jobs for everybody, the money would be flowing, and Pinellas County would have the healthiest economy in the entire state of Florida without spending a single penny for marketing or advertising. That's how I'm going to fix the COVID-19 lockdown damage to the economy.
I can definitely see that as a fix.
I like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not only it's a good fix, it's an easy fix, it's a free fix. And the only thing that the people of Pinellas have to do to achieve this is not mind if they have the little wafting of a aroma of cannabis every once in a while. That's it. To solve all of our problems, to fix our economy, if you smell it, just shut up and keep walking. Bottom line.
And what's the number one rule in business? High yield for low investment.
Zero investment.
Did that. Right. You just did that.
When I get elected to sheriff, my story and what I'm doing here is going to be national news. We are going to be trumpeted all across the world as the way that you solve the police problem and the way that you give people their freedom. And when that happens, it's going to be advertising for Pinellas County economy. Hey, I never heard of Pinellas County. That place sounds great. I want to go there on vacation. And people literally from all over the world will come here. And I think I might even be able to triple tourism in Pinellas County. I don't see anybody else offering any other plan to fix the economy. They have none.
And let me just point out, if I may, Mr. McLynas, that you're factoring your triple economy solely on your cannabis concept. May I also say that you're not policing for profit, not having asshole fucking sheriff's deputies. All of that will factor in as well. All these other things that McLynas has talked about will also add to your boost in economy, boost in tourism, and boost in quality of life within your county.
We will be the friendliest tourist destination in the entire state of Florida. I guarantee it.
Yep.
Somebody else asked a comment I saw pop up there real quick, and I'd love to address that. What about the taxes? How much taxes are you going to charge? Well, how much tax does he want on it?
Well,
Here,
that's
let me
not up
ask.
to the sheriff anyway.
Yeah, well, it can be. Let me explain that one. You're going to love this. And this is also on my website. On the last position on my platform page, I go into a tax-based stimulus versus a spending-based stimulus. And I explain this in detail. You can actually read all about it. But the bottom line is this. If you have legalized marijuana, first, you busted your ass to go to the Tallahassee and beg the legislators and spent millions on petitions and years and decades fighting for a bill to be sent up there. They whittle it away, chisel it away, and put in all kinds of rules, restrictions, and violations in it. So basically, it's not really legalization. It's just a very small window of opportunity. Here in Pinellas County, to give you an example, they have medical marijuana, and you get a medical marijuana card. And if you get pulled over and you think I'm legal, I have medical marijuana card, and it doesn't matter if my car smells like pot, the Pinellas County deputies come up to your car. They say, I smell pot, which could be legal hemp too, so that's not probable cause. And the driver will say, oh, haha, I've got it handled. Here, let me show you my medical marijuana card. And you hand it to the deputy. The deputy then says, out of the car. We're searching the car. And he's now using your medical marijuana card as probable cause to search your vehicle to make sure that you do not have 1 fraction of a gram over the legal limit you're allowed to have. And it better be in its original packaging, because if not, you're going to jail anyway. That's their idea of legalization, okay? It's bullshit. So what I'm talking about is non-legalization. I'm talking about literal cannabis freedom, where we will treat cannabis like lawn clippings. We will regulate it like we do tobacco. If you can smoke a cigarette there, you can smoke a joint there. If you want to grow it in your backyard, grow it. I don't care. If you want to have a whole semi-truck full of it, I don't care. We're not going to be bothering any of you. Now, the difference here between legalization of recreational marijuana and cannabis freedom is quite simple. And what I mean by that is, if it is legalized, not only will you have all these bullshit regulations piled all on top of it, you're going to wind up paying way more than what you should. It's going to be taxed ridiculously, and the quality is going to be poorer than you can get from your local supplier down the street. It's a waste of time. Now, with legalized cannabis, then the thing that happens there is you basically have 3 entities that profit from that. Number one, you have the government, who's taking their taxes. They want their $10, $15, $20, $30 for the sale out of the marijuana. So they're happy. They get their money. Number two, you have the growers, the handful of guys that bribe the right politicians to get that license, and they're going to be the only ones with the monopoly to grow it in the whole state. They're going to make money, and that money's going to go in their direct pockets for their mansions, their boats, and their cars. The third entity is the true leaves. These are the guys that have the dispensaries. Those guys are multinational corporations that are going to be taking all the profits they make from their True Leaf dispensaries, and they're going to be leaving the county too. So where is the benefit to the people of Pinellas County? How does Mary Johnson, who works at the fish hut down the street, how does she benefit from that? Other than she might get a couple of extra hungry customers who smoke pot that day, she doesn't. So what I'm talking about is cannabis freedom. And what I mean by that is freedom. You want to buy it, buy it. You want to smoke it, smoke it. You have a head shop, you want to grow it in your backyard and put it in a jar on the counter, go ahead. When we have cannabis freedom and we are inviting all these tourists to come from all over the world, tripling tourism, then everybody's going to be making money. That spending that these tourists come in are billions of dollars into the Pinellas County economy. And if you use a spending-based analysis and let these people just come and enjoy their freedom, then we don't need the taxes, because getting that $30, $40, $20 tax for each sale is not going to be anything compared to filling those hotels, filling those restaurants, filling those bars, selling those tourist supplies, and everybody else that lives off of the tourism industry. You have no idea how much tourism feeds everybody. I don't care what business you're in. Say you're an electrician.
The state runs off of it.
Yeah, the whole state does, especially Pinellas County. So if you have a healthy tourism, you have a healthy economy. And if I have tripled the tourism here, we're going to have so much tax benefits to the state. We're going to have so much money for everybody to go around, so many jobs, better jobs, higher wages. Everything will be better here because we don't have legalized marijuana. We have cannabis freedom.
Makes 100% sense.
Yep.
Of course it does. That's why the government hasn't done it yet.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right in all aspects of that. Whenever the government gets its hands in it, it's overregulated, it's overpriced, quality's undercut. I mean, that's with just about any government product or service you could think of. It's just, it's almost like their MO, to be as crappy as they can and charge as much as they can.
Well, what government program do you know that you can point to that was a raving success? I don't know of any.
NASA? No, not that one.
No. I mean, why did we go back and forth to the moon? We got the rocks. We came home. Why we need to go back?
Yep.
So James, Mr. McLynas, with
It's James.
James, thank you. With the overwhelming, I don't know how to word it, but with all of police departments, sheriffs, and all that around the nation leaning towards militarization, how is that something that when you're sheriff, how is that something that you're going to curb? How are you going to pump the brakes on militarization of the police force?
Oh, that's easy. We're going to have a garage sale on the front lawn. I'm going to put a for sale sign on the MRAPs. I'm going to put all the bayonets on eBay. we're getting rid of all that stuff. I'm sorry, our government does not need tanks to use against its citizen, especially at a podunk police agency for a local county sheriff. That's insane.
A Hummer.
Yeah, I mean, they say, "Oh, well, we need it in case there's flooding. These MRAPs can go through floods." Well, you know what? So can school buses. I've seen them.
Yep.
So we don't need any of that nonsense. And I don't like the optics of it. I don't like my guys dressed like soldiers that are going to war. And what happens is if you give the guys this equipment, they can't wait to play with it. And when you dress up as soldiers, you start acting like soldiers. And when you're a soldier, you need an enemy. And here in Pinellas County, if you're a Pinellas County Sheriff's Department deputy and you're dressed as a soldier, the only enemy you're going to find is the people of Pinellas County. And I'm putting an end to that. That's ridiculous. Anybody want to buy an MRAP? I'm going to have a sale on them. I'll give you a good deal.
I want one of the Humvees. I'm going to bid on one of those.
Everyone's going to, seriously, I'm putting this stuff on eBay. I am. I'm going to sell it all. I'm going to sell Galtieri's plane too. I'm going to get rid of 2 of the 3 helicopters. We don't need a helicopter in the air hovering at all point in time. Basically, Galtieri said this was for stolen cars. And I added up the budget that he spends on the helicopters, the fuel, the maintenance, the cost of the helicopters, the pilots, and everything else. And the bottom line is, if you took the number of cars that were stolen in 2019 and you divided it into the budget, we could have given each person that had a stolen car a check for $17,500 and never chased anybody. Let them have the stolen car.
Well, I'll tell you, you're in a good geographical position because when you put all that stuff up on auction, I think Grady Judd and Bill Promell will buy most of it. And
yep.
That's.
Oh no, we're going to have we're going to have a very specific prohibition in the sale on these items that no police agency is going to be permitted to buy them.
Oh, good.
Nice.
Yeah, it's all craziness. And, I've been looking at this stuff for years, and I've been developing these platforms for years. And I don't think that it's just coincidence that 4 months before my election, the entire country decides to have protests asking for exactly what I've been offering for the last 4 years.
Yep.
Every single one of the protesters' requests are nicely addressed in my platform positions. Every single one of them. All with one vote.
Meant to be.
Well, I hope the people of Pinellas are smart enough to realize that.
So, how much longer do we have on the campaign? When's the election date?
The election is November 3rd. I'm actually going to be running as a Democrat. I pulled a little switcheroo here recently. I ran as an NPA in 2016, but I'm going to run as a Democrat. There's another guy that signed up to run as a Democrat against me, so there might be a primary. I don't anticipate him being too much of an issue. I think actually he may not even bother qualifying because I sent him a little. I'm currently listed on the election website as an NPA, and I think he thought, hey, there's a little blank spot in there under the Democratic sheriff candidate. I think I'm going to slide on in there and take that over. And being just a Democrat, I should be able to knock out the NPA. Well, I sent him an email. He signed up June 4th. I sent him an email that day, and I just said, hey, just letting you know, if you decide to run as a Democrat for sheriff and you do decide to plunk down your 10 grand, you and I are going to go to a primary together that I don't think you can win. So whether he actually pays his money and qualifies, it'll be interesting to see. If he doesn't, then I'm looking forward to a nice long month or two of debating him, eviscerating him, and showing the people of Pinellas what we can do here. I ain't scared.
Nice. No, we're looking forward to it, man. And, you know, any way that we can help, we're glad to do it. You said some little commercials coming out. If there's any way you could get those to me, I'd be happy to stick them on my video, you know, maybe at the front, maybe at the back end, a little 30-second ad or whatever. And, you know, get you some views going before the election.
There's somebody here that's asking, can people in an incorporated city in Pinellas vote for county sheriff? Yes, every single person that lives in Pinellas County can vote for sheriff. Absolutely. Interestingly enough, there are about 680,000 registered voters here in Pinellas. And for the first time in history, we have more Democrats by about 12,000. It's starting to inch up. So with that, I think I've got a pretty damn good shot at winning. In 2016, when I campaigned for 3 months. I was an NPA and I got over 100,000 votes. Interestingly enough, there was a guy who ran for sheriff in Orlando, and I think his last name was Black. I'm not sure, but he was actually a black gentleman who had a pretty long criminal history, and he was currently being investigated and prosecuted for a couple of more crimes while he was running for sheriff. He did zero campaigning, spent zero money on his campaign, and but he did qualify, and he was on the ballot as a Democrat. And what happened was he wound up getting 42% of the vote. 42% of the vote with that type of a candidacy. Now, there was a whole bunch of newspaper articles about how stupid the people of Orange County must be. You almost elected a criminal to be your sheriff. But what that showed me is that a lot of people just vote a straight D ticket. D all the way down the line. They don't like the Republicans. They're just going to vote for the D. I then did some research here in Pinellas. And in the 2012 election against Sheriff Galtieri, there was a candidate named Scott Swope, and he ran as the Democratic candidate for sheriff. And he was a little lackluster, decent guy and all, but he didn't have much of a platform. He was a sheriff or a deputy or an officer for like 5 years, like 8 years ago, and now he was just a lawyer. But he didn't have a lot of charisma, didn't have a lot of ideas. And even he was able to get 40% of the votes here in Pinellas County in 2012. So my position here is pretty simple. I got 100,000 votes being an NPA in 2016. I'm going to run as a Democrat, so I should be able to get at least 40% of the votes, just by being the Democratic contender on the ticket. Maybe as high as 42, maybe as high as 45% with the shift in Democratic voters here. The next thing is, if I could get that 42% of the votes, plus I get the 100,000 votes that voted for me last time just because they can't stand Sheriff Galtieri, plus I get the 67% of the voters who are favorable to cannabis legalization for adult use here in Pinellas County, that should easily put me well over the ability to win this race.
Yeah.
51%.
I agree.
That's all I need. And I think I've got that, and I think I'm scaring the crap out of Sheriff Galtieri right now, especially with these protests. He has literally got to be crapping his pants.
Yeah.
So what are some of the platforms? What are some of the platforms that? And I'm a little late to the party, and I don't know if this happened at the beginning of this whole panel chat. But what are some of the platforms that some of the people that are watching this panel can find you in, other than your Facebook?
Well, I've got a
Facebook page that we showed.
Yeah, I've got a McLynas for Sheriff Facebook page, and I typically write 2 or 3 articles on that a day, exposing some of the crap that's going on around here. But my website is the thing that really has the most detail, McLynas4sheriff.com. And then I'm going to be starting to do a lot of YouTube videos over the next 3 months. I've got a lot of stuff in the hopper that I stopped to do the website, build the website first, then I'm going to do the videos. And I'm probably going to be pumping out somewhere around 30 to 50 YouTube videos on these issues between now and the election. So if people want to follow me on YouTube, McLynas for Sheriff there, my webpage, McLynasforSheriff.com, or Facebook, McLynas for Sheriff on Facebook, they should be able to follow everything I'm doing.
I've been banging all your links right steady through on the chat for all of them.
Yes,
I appreciate that. And
I
one of the
saw
things,
that. I just wanted to make it official and him saying it.
can you pop up the platform page on my website
Yep, I
with
can.
all those little buttons on it again?
Yep.
I know it looks kind of simplistic, but there was a very specific idea and concept for building this the way that I did. You see these very simple buttons, and each one of them is a platform position, and each one of them has ideas of exactly how I'm going to handle what I'm going to do for sheriff, and it addresses everything that everyone's concerned about. But what's really interesting, like if you pop on the cannabis one and you look at some of those articles, each one of those articles can be shared on, say, a cannabis-friendly website. So if you go to my volunteer page, I say to people, you don't even have to contact me to volunteer. You can just literally go to my campaign page. Let's say you like constitutional rights. Well, pull up my constitutional rights articles and post those on constitutional rights pages. If you like reducing justice reforms, click on that and send that to people. So you could actually go through each one of these buttons and click on things and send my platform positions to all of the people that you might be interested in doing these. And as we move forward, I'm going to be writing articles for a number of these different platform positions so that people can share them without having to explain who I am or what I'm doing. If it's pot that you like and you want to see it legalized, go to the pot thing, send it out. If it's Second Amendment rights you're interested in, I'm going to be a 24-hour, 307 days a week, 365 days a year constitutional sheriff. So anything that people are interested in, they can go out to these places, they can get this information, and they can share me very easily by using the pages from the website. That's the way it was designed. All these articles, they basically support my position of the things that are going on in Pinellas and around the world. So people can read that it's not just my opinion of what I'm putting in here. What's going on here is actually stuff that's being encountered all around the world, all around the globe without a solution. And I'm offering the solution to all of these things that are listed in these articles.
That's a good one, though, the pullovers for the suspended licenses and stuff.
Oh, the use of force platform that I have on there. There's an entity called Campaign Zero, and Campaign Zero actually has been working with Black Lives Matter, and they have gone around the world and done a lot of fantastic research that I couldn't have taken the time to do. And they found all of the use of force policies that are currently in use at police agencies all around the world in the United States that actually do work, that actually will solve the problems that we have with the police industry. And they've put them all in one big, nice, long use of force policy that any police agency can adopt. And on my platform position, I literally have the Campaign Zero use of force policy because they did all the homework for me. And they're simple, common stuff. Like, as an example, one of the things that causes so much problems with holding police accountable is the police industry went into these use of force policies about 10 or 15 years ago and sneakily changed the word necessary use of force to reasonable use of force. Before, if the force wasn't necessary, you didn't get to use it. End of story. So they took the word necessary out and stuck reasonable in there. Then reasonable became reasonable based on the officer's position. Am I scared? All of a sudden, just being a coward gave you the right to kill somebody. It used to be that if you had a gun and and the cop shot you, now the cop would get away with that. But if the cop shot you and you didn't have a gun, you've seen the old TV shows. Oh my God, you shot him. He didn't have a gun. What are we going to do? The guy, oh, I got a drop gun right here. We'll throw it down next to you. You know, we'll save you. Don't worry about it. Well, that was where the drop guns came from. Because back then, if you shot somebody with a sandwich in his hand, you were in a world of trouble. Not anymore, because they took necessary out and they put reasonable in it. So that Mike, what that guy Daniel Shaver that was crawling down the hallway in Mesa, Arizona, begging for his life with that asshole Brazelford pointing his M16 at him, he's sitting there making him do this deadly game of Simon Says, crawling to him, saying, "Don't shoot me, don't shoot me," and he reaches down to just pull his shorts up. And he shot him full of a bunch of holes using his gun. Now, that's what that guy got away with it because he was able to claim, I feared for my life because he was reaching for his waistband. Police don't understand the simple concept that most people's hands are by their waistbands 95% of the day, either just above it, just below it, going by it, reaching all around it, about 90% of the day. So he shot that cop. That cop shot him based on the fact that it was reasonable for him to do so. And he got away with it. He was not convicted. And the reason that he was not convicted is because the trial had to determine whether or not he followed the agency's guidelines. Reasonable followed the agency's guidelines. Necessary would not have. Because he followed the agency's guidelines, he was acquitted under immunity. Because if he was doing his job the way the guidelines said, then he's under the umbrella of qualified immunity. And that's where reasonable came in and screwed everybody up. So I'm going to take out all the reasonables. I'm going to put them in necessary. So I'm going to make all the changes. So an officer is not going to get to kill people just because he's a coward anymore. I'm going to find these officers. I'm going to arrest them the day these shootings take place. And we're going to investigate it like a real crime, not like we're trying to figure out a way to get the guy off.
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be a certain amount of subjectivity to, whether you change the word to necessary or reasonable. There's always going to be a certain amount of subjectivity and a lack of objectivity, and that's the nature of the beast. But certainly changing it from necessary to reasonable opens up a larger gap of objectivity.
Well, there's a number of other changes. That was just one simple one to point out.
Yeah.
Like as an example, in my use of force policies, deputies will have an obligation to take cover. They're going to have an obligation to not put themselves in harm's way. Like you see officers step in front of a car that they know is pulling out, and if the car moves another inch towards them, they shoot 20 rounds through the windshield at an unarmed teenager. That's because there's no use of force policy at that agency that says that you do not put yourself in the place of in front of a moving car. You do not place yourself in a tactical disadvantage, causing you to fire. And all these different use of force policies have to be implemented. So these deputies know you step out in front of that car, you better not put a bullet through that windshield or you're going to jail. And that's what my use of force policies will do across the board. My goal as sheriff is to make sure that not a single person is killed by a Pinellas County Sheriff deputy while I'm sheriff. And consequently, the same way, I'm going to try and make sure that no deputies are killed either. My goal is to make sure that nobody in Pinellas County gets killed during a police action ever.
That's what it should be.
And you'd be backed up by the Supreme Court, because the Supreme Court has said that law enforcement is under no obligation to protect. So.
Yeah, they're not under an obligation to do anything, but they will be under an obligation under my policies. And I can still terminate them, fire them, and cut off their pensions. And I can also move to remove their certificate of their agency certificate, so they can't be cops anywhere else.
Oh, that's a good one, because I know that's a big problem where they resign before they get fired so that they can move 2 counties over and get a new job. So
that happens all the time.
If you can elaborate on that a little bit, I didn't even know that a sheriff had authority to revoke certain things. I don't know what you're talking about.
A sheriff does not have the authority to revoke a law enforcement officer certificate, but a sheriff does have the ability to properly investigate the crime to make sure that he's convicted of the crime, so that he does have his certificate removed. Furthermore, we won't be whitewashing deputy records here, where if he goes to another agency, they're all going to find out what an idiot he was when he was here. And then we're also going to have my website. Can you pull up I have one of the things that I'm going to do, I don't even know where it is anymore. Yeah, go back to the limit use of force. Let me see if it's already there. Scroll down. Yeah, try limit use of force. I don't even know where all this stuff is. I got so much stuff on here, it's ridiculous. Yeah, scroll down to see if I've got that on there, Mike. All the way down.
Chokeholds.
No, it's not on there. Well, it's on one of the other pages. Basically, I'm going to be starting a website. It might be under. Let me look on my own thing. I'll find it here. Basically, I'm going to be starting a website where I'm going to be ranking and rating all of these officers, so that if we have bad officers, we're going to have them on there, and that officer's rating is going to follow them wherever they go around the entire country. They're not going to be able to just move to another county and get away from their records here. They're going to be followed by what I put on this and what other people put on there about them. And that's going to be some of the best things that I think we can do, is make sure that they don't get away with what they've been doing. Police accountability. Let me see if it's there. Yeah, there are just literally so many things that a proper police officer, a proper sheriff, someone who is not beholden to the police industry can actually do to end this nonsense. And they're just plain not doing any of it. And that's what's so disheartening about it. You see all these people getting away with so many things even now. It's just ludicrous what they're getting away with.
Well, it's a multi-million-dollar business. Each department is a multi-million-dollar business. So why would they? Why would they change the status quo?
If you go to the Constitutional Sheriff's link number 9, and you go down to the launch the LEO review site, and click read there. Yeah, check this out. Scroll down there. That's a website. That's just a mock-up of a website that I'm going to do. I call it Andy's List. It's a joke, but I'm serious. If I can get the licensing to use it, like Angie's List, Andy Taylor. I want all the deputies to be like Andy Taylor. Basically, if you can imagine Andy Taylor doing it, then go ahead and do it. If you can't imagine Andy Taylor doing it, then don't do it. Like the "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets. I want them to embrace "What Would Andy do." And if they can't look at Andy Taylor and say, yeah, Andy Taylor right now would take out his taser and tase the guy in the balls and then beat him with the nightstick and then stick the dog on him, then you just don't do it. And when I do this, I want to literally launch this nationwide so that deputies and officers from all over the country are going to be rated like Yelp. And they're not going to be able to run and hide from their rating. It's going to be on here. It's going to follow them wherever they go, so that bad officers will literally be drummed out of the police industry. And at the same time, good officers that rank Andy are very good. I want these agencies to promote these guys. I want them to put them in charge. I want them to be leadership examples for the rest of the deputies. Unlike the way they are now, they speak up and they try and stop corruption. They wind up getting terminated and fired. And we've got to change that entire process all across the United States. And literally, this is how I intend on changing it everywhere in America. Come on, tell me that's not cool.
That's great. I like that.
I love it.
Imagine you get pulled over by Officer Dickhead, and you will go out there and you put a nice little review on him and 0 stars, and then you see all the other comments of everybody else that had the same problem with him. When people start reading, hey, I had a problem with Officer Dickhead, and then I go and I look at all the other reviews on him, it's gonna cause me to pick up the phone and call Officer Dickhead's boss and go, why does Officer Dickhead still have a badge and a gun?
Yeah.
Why is he still allowed to do the things that he's doing?
Exactly.
You know, it'll almost be like a cop watchers of, you know, it'll almost be like every citizen contributes to cop watching.
Every citizen is a cop watch. Yep.
Yeah.
Because right now, you go try and make a complaint. I tried to make a complaint the other day because I just happened to be there, and I went to the St. Pete Police Department, and as soon as I walked in, it started. What's your name? Do you have any identification? What are you doing here? You know, why are you filming? What are you doing here? You know, and I said, it's none of your business. I have an appointment with somebody from the records department. Who are you here to see? Who are you? Get out of my face. You know, walk away from me. You know, I didn't come here to see you, and I didn't engage you. This conversation is consensual, and I'm ending it right now. Now walk away. You know, and then they follow you and harass you. Then they go around behind the counter and want to look over the shoulder of the person you're talking to. I mean, it's literally the most ridiculous mindset that I've ever seen, and that's what needs to change.
It's intimidation.
Yeah, they're used to it. They like it.
Yep.
And that's going to end. Well, gentlemen, I think I'm going to wrap this up unless anybody else has any more questions.
Agreed. Let me see if there's anything that's pressing. Doesn't look that way. No.
I'm not looking at the chat, so I can't see anything.
Tons of comments on how good that idea is, though.
It's a great idea. Why hasn't it been invented? Why does somebody like me from Pinellas County, Florida, have to come up with something like that solves these problems? Why? Why hasn't somebody done something? Well, they don't have to anymore. I'm going to do it all here, and I'm going to show the world how it's done, and then hopefully we can just rubber stamp people like me all across the country.
Agreed.
Let's
make it so.
I mean, That would be awesome.
Yeah, if people want to see this become a reality, it's real simple. They sit there and they say, what are we going to do? You hear the protesters. What are we going to do? How do we change it? How do we get the police to listen to us? And I've been down to the St. Pete Police Department and I've watched the protest. I've been in that line. I've been right there with them. And they're all going, you people are bastards. You won't listen to us. You won't do anything. And I'm sitting there thinking, these guys are just employees. They're only here for the paycheck. They don't give a damn about you. They just want that pension. They just want that paycheck. They just want to go home. They can't change anything, even if they wanted to. Their boss, the Chief Holloway, he's beholden to the mayor. If he doesn't do what the mayor tells him to do, Chief Holloway's fired. They'll get somebody else who will. The person that we should be protesting is all going to the mayor's house and sitting in front of the mayor's house. But that doesn't happen. But everybody wants this change. And here, literally, I am offering the change. All these people need to do to have every single thing they want is to vote for me, support me, and back me. And I'm asking people all over the country to donate to my campaign. If I get $100,000 or $150,000 worth of donations, I can saturate TV in this area. I can kick his butt up and down. And so all I need to be guaranteed to win and to implement this is enough donations from people that are fed up by police all across the country. You don't have to live here to vote and to donate to my campaign to want to see this change. Because if I can implement the change here, it will come to you. If I can't make it in here, it's never coming to you because you're never going to get it from the police agencies. So you want to see someone get donate. That's all I can ask.
It starts here with James McLynas. It starts right here, right now. With James McLynas, all you people in the panel that have been First Amendment rights activists, Second Amendment rights activists, whatever amendment rights activists you are, James McLynas is showing you a real live sheriff that wants to make real changes right now, today. He needs your support. Let's make it happen.
Let's give the last question comment on it about Second Amendment. Stance on guns. There's been a couple questions about that. Everybody's hung up that because you're running in the Democratic Party that you could be grabbing guns and taking guns. They're hung up on that part. And there's another one asking what your stance is on the Second Amendment.
I have a 4-word answer for that. You ready? Shall not be infringed.
Yes.
There you go.
It's really simple, isn't it?
It is. Wow, that was easy.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to do in that regard, though, is we had some guys here that came in. They were open carry fishing, and they were laid out on the ground at gunpoint. He almost shot him. You guys know who I'm talking about?
Yes, we do.
Solo Yacker.
Solo.
Solo Yacker. Yeah, I was literally on my way to go see him and meet him there, and I was just a few minutes short of being there when that occurred, because that happened literally right down the street from my house. And one of the things that I absolutely intend on doing is untraining these police officers to think that just because someone else has a gun, that they're a deadly threat. There's a guy out there called Dave Grossman, Bulletproof Warrior. Have any of you guys ever heard of him?
I have not.
I don't think I have.
Look him up. Dave Grossman, Bulletproof Warrior. He's a guy, he's probably the most responsible for teaching all these cops to shoot first and ask questions later. His basic position is if you're even slightly afraid, just go ahead and kill him because you want to make it home and nobody else. And this guy is such a whack job. He's actually said in his seminars, boy, the day you get to kill somebody, you'll have the best sex of your life. I mean, literally, that guy is that much of a whack job. And that is his training is instrumental for why these cops shoot first and ask questions later. Here in Pinellas County, I've been demanding the records of how many officers took that training. And right now, I've got the records. There are over 95 officers in Pinellas County that the Pinellas County taxpayers paid to take that training. And this kind of training teaches them that if you have a wooden spoon in your back pocket, if you got a screwdriver, if you got anything, they're going to just shoot you and not take a chance. But I want deputies to understand and be retrained to the fact that just because you see a gun doesn't mean there's a crime. Just because you see the gun, that doesn't mean there's a threat. You need to talk to these people because we as Americans have a right to carry a gun. We have a right to self-protection. And you don't have the right to infringe on those rights just because you're afraid of their gun. You want to observe them? Like my advice to the deputies with Solo Yackers, you should have observed him. You should have seen if he went fishing. And as soon as he went fishing, if you were still nervous about the fact that he had a gun there, you could have sat in his car and watched him while he fished. You didn't need to go out and draw down on him and take his gun from him. And deputies need to be trained that just because there's a gun does not mean that there's a crime. And I will be doing that here. Did that answer the question?
Yes, it did. Very well.
I think so. A couple people were asking for links to Solo Yacker, but it's that simple. It's Solo Yacker, Yaker, Solo Yacker, and he's got lots of videos of him doing open carry fishing trips, and he's got quite a good number of videos of police officers giving him some slack and pulling guns on him.
Yep.
I saw someone just ask the question, why not run as an independent? Why run as a Democrat or Republican? Screw them both. Unfortunately, in today's climate, I did run as an NPA in 2016, and I got over 100,000 votes. But it was not enough to win against a Republican candidate. Unfortunately, the way the mindset is, a lot of older voters simply are Democrats their whole life or Republicans their whole life. They're going to go into the polls. They're just going to go down the list, D, 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 R, 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 and that's it. And if you're not one or the other, you're not going to win an election in today's current climate. Now, I think I see that changing. I think I see people getting fed up with both Democrats and Republicans. But unfortunately, if you want to actually implement change, you got to get in the front door first. So that's why I'm running as a Democrat.
Rice Crispy said if he buys that MRAP, he's going to take Solo Yacker fishing in it.
Can I come? Can I come? I would love to come and do that.
I know, right?
That's hilarious. Hey, so does anybody know why Solo Yacker is named Solo Yacker?
I heard the story. I don't want to misstate it, so I'm not going to say anything.
So anyone in the chat, you win the prize. There's really no prize, but you get kudos. You can tell me why Solo Yacker is named Solo Yacker. So that being said, I think are we kind of at the end here?
We're rolling up. I was just throwing out the last set of links for him again, so everybody would have those, and I'll put them down in the description and stuff too. After we're done and YouTube gets done processing it and everything, I'll put everything down in there also for everybody.
Awesome.
Yep.
Well,
yeah, make sure all the links are in there to donate to Mr. McLynas, or even just to go and support him, and go put positive comments on his social media pages for his people in his town to read and do whatever you can to support him.
How about this? Go out onto Sheriff Galtieri's Facebook page, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Office, and let him know how you feel about him. I'd love to see some of you guys go out there and eviscerate him on his own page.
Or just go on his page and say, "I'm voting for McLynas."
Yeah, I've got a thing going on now. We're just came out with a bumper sticker, and we're having a bumper sticker challenge for people that could put my bumper sticker on the back of a Pinellas County Sheriff's deputy's car and take pictures of it. So we're gonna start having a lot of people posting Pinellas County Sheriff's deputies' vehicles with my bumper sticker on the back.
Oh, that's hilarious! That's hilarious.
Guerrilla campaigning. That's what this is all about.
Hey, sometimes the little army has to fight with guerrilla tactics.
There you go.
But this is so all of you guys that are in this. If you're watching this channel, if you're subscribed to the Bang channel, that means you support the ideas that James McLynas is putting out there. You're not an auditor, you're not a cop watcher if you don't support what James McLynas is putting out into the world. So you guys need to do whatever you can to just go show your support. And we really appreciate James. We really appreciate you coming in today and sharing all your very eloquent ideas. It was
fun. It was a blast. I'm looking at the live almost 2 hour mark. I can't believe that we've been sitting here chatting 2 hours. It just seems to have flown by.
It has, hasn't it?
Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
You have a lot of really smart
for being
things
here.
to say. Time flies.
Well, anytime you guys want to do this, let me know. I'm on board.
Okay.
Careful what you wish for, because we might get you back up here in another week.
Sounds good.
Listen,
this is fun.
I guarantee you we'll get you back on here a couple more times throughout your campaign.
Sounds great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, James. Thank you, Eyes on the State, for running the panel. And thanks everybody in the chat for joining us today.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Everybody have a good evening. Great talk, James.
Thank you, sir.
Good
We'll talk to you guys later.
See you later. News Now South Florida. I will talk to you soon. Thank you,
All right.
everybody in the chat. Everybody with the links there. Go do what you guys need to do. Help everybody out. Share, like, subscribe.